China is an authoritarian regime that loves to spread its toxic ideology to other parts of the world. Its latest is Zimbabwe in the African continent. In order to rule the African nation, China is accused of having facilitated a military coup that took place merely days after the Zimbabwe military chief went to Beijing on a surprise visit. In order to helm a puppet regime in Zimbabwe, China built the National Defense College and also funded the building of a 650-seater parliament house in Harare. It is also looking to export artificial intelligence technology to the country in order to gain access to complete data on Zimbabwean military personnel, citizens, and government officials. This is part of China's strategy to secure its investments and predatory loans worth billions of dollars in Zimbabwe. However, the people of Zimbabwe are now pushing back against Chinese hegemony. This might as well dash China's hopes of ruling Zimbabwe forever. Hi and welcome. This is TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I'm your host Atul Mishra. And in this video, I will tell you how China tried to plunder Zimbabwe and how Zimbabweans are standing up to Chinese atrocities and belligerence in the African nation. Let's begin. Xi Jinping's expansionist Chinese empire is in big trouble, not because some governments have started pushing it back, but because people across different parts of the world have started resisting China's unpardonable atrocities. Take the case of Zimbabwe, for instance. China is alleged to have orchestrated a military coup in Zimbabwe in order to consolidate its influence in the African nation. Yet, China's dreams to control Zimbabwe forever seem to have been shattered. Make no mistake, Zimbabwe is a resource-rich nation. China wanted to loot Zimbabwe through a web of consistent loan defaults. With the installment of an allegedly collusive military regime, Beijing also started exploiting the people of the African nation and the Zimbabwean labor class with sheer impunity. However, growing anti-Chinese sentiment in Zimbabwe seems to be getting the better of Beijing now. As per ET, there have been several cases of rampant abuse of Zimbabwe's local laborers by Chinese employers in the country. However, the Zimbabwean government has by and large remained a mute spectator. Matters have gone as far as local employees being shot dead by a Chinese employer after the laborers demanded their legitimate pending wages. It is not uncommon for Chinese company owners in Zimbabwe to totally disregard the law of the land, infringe upon citizens' legal rights, and discriminate openly between on-site Chinese miners and local employees. In fact, Zimbabwean laborers are effectively treated as slaves. They are made to work at a meager salary of $35 per month in dangerous, inhuman, and harsh conditions. The residential facilities for Zimbabwean laborers too are inhumane. In a Chinese company's accommodation, as many as 16 local laborers are stuffed in one room, regardless of the Wuhan virus outbreak. All this happens under the watch of the military regime in power in the African nation that came to power shortly after Zimbabwean military chief's sudden visit to Beijing. However, the people of Zimbabwe aren't ready to let China take control of their country. An organization called the Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Union, or ZCTU, has been protesting against the Chinese assaults. Chinese diplomats did try to persuade ZCTU towards a friendly solution, but the Zimbabwean organization simply refused to budge. In fact, ZCTU has been warned of dire consequences for highlighting issues that affect Chinese interests in Zimbabwe. The rights organization has brought some cases to the notice of the Zimbabwean government in which Chinese employers concealed the deaths of local employees in order to avoid paying compensation to their families. In order to pile pressure on the Zimbabwean government and the Chinese employers, ZCTU is threatening of intensifying its activism to the international level regarding workers' rights and dignity. It wants to strong-arm the pro-China government in Zimbabwe into ending systematic abuses of local workers by the Chinese companies. Meanwhile, Zimbabwe is witnessing a social media campaign against Chinese excesses. ZCTU Secretary General Zafe Mayo is the one who launched the social media campaign highlighting systematic abuses by Chinese interests in the country. Resentment against China is growing within Zimbabwe, and allegations against the Chinese employers are reportedly backed by shreds of evidence of torture and inhuman treatment. The issue is now being taken up by some courageous leaders in the African nation. A traditional leader in Zimbabwe's Mashonaland Central Province, Chief Chiweshe, has accused Chinese interests of looting vast mineral resources of the country like chrome and gold. Zimbabwe is also resisting China's tendency to dump inferior and outdated technology to poorer countries. China's biggest bank, the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, sanctioned a $3 billion loan to finance a coal-fired power plant in the African nation. However, the project got halted after protests by environmentalist groups like Go Clean ICBC. Environmental groups have exposed the climate risks and costs associated with the Chinese-funded coal power project and therefore the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China has been compelled to carry out a feasibility study of the controversial project, which was slated to be constructed by China Gehuba Group, and the associated transmission lines were to be led by Power Construction of China Limited. The people of Zimbabwe understand how Chinese debt trap strategy works. They also see collusion between the military regime that has assumed power in Zimbabwe and the Chinese Communist Party. While China was planning to rule forever, it seems that stiff resistance by Zimbabweans will keep China at bay and shatter its expansive hopes.